Back in the Halo 2 days, the marketing that went into the pre-release period for Halo 2 was absolutely wild. In the first teaser trailer for Halo 2, a secret website called ilovebees.com was teased, and one of the biggest internet scavenger hunts would begin. Now, we've done a very long video on a deep breakdown into I Love Bees. It's one of my favorite videos we've ever done on this channel. And if you haven't watched that video, you should go watch it after this video. But not only did this massive Halo mystery lead players on a months-long journey to uncover the true story behind a simple website that looked like this and later went to this, but players would be tasked with some crazy objectives like activating various payphones across the country, debunking riddles to get secret GPS coordinations, all which culminated into an audio drama story which would be released, which was actually really high quality and of course expanded on the Halo universe unlike anything that any players at the time had ever seen for any video game. Now, we talked about this a little bit in that other video, but at the end of the entire event, there was secret GPS coordinates that would send the players who participated in I Love Bees to a giant finale event. And at this specific event, for a limited time, players could give a code word and gain access to a special I Love Bees disc, which was essentially a DVD that had the entire audio drama on it. Now, with this being 17 years ago, these discs are more and more scarce than ever before. And with my immense love for I Love Bees and just the cool narrative and story behind it, I actually managed to get my hands on a copy. And this copy is unlike anything that I even knew existed. So while this is a very niche item when it comes to Halo collectibles, with just the general rarity of these discs, it's incredibly difficult to even ever find one that is available for sale. Shortly after our I Love Bees video went out, where we detailed everything and even talked about how rare the disc was, through the following months since that video had released, only one single disc popped up on eBay with a starting asking price of $1,000. And this is just for a promotional disc that some people may have had their mom go to a movie theater, pick up, and then they kind of listened to it once and threw the disc aside to be lost forever 17 years later. And with my love for I Love Bees, I had regularly been searching the web for any chance of an I Love Bees disc that would just float out there for a relatively normal price that maybe someone like me could afford. And while it was really discouraging to literally be able to find absolutely nothing at all, little did I know in just a few months I would have my hands on an I Love Bees disc that not only came from the actual event that was hosted that had the Bungie employees and actors there, and this specific copy of I Love Bees was autographed by Kristen Rutherford, who was the Sleeping Princess and Durga, who actually wrote All Your Bees Are Belong to OP, and Jane McGonigal, who was the actress that played Dana Aubrey, who wrote XO Dana above her signature. Now seriously, looking at this alone, it kind of sounded like something that might have been too good to be true, and this was just something that popped up in our email inbox randomly out of the blue from someone who had watched our I Love Bees video. And that's where my email exchange with Justin Cena began. Now, interestingly enough, if you watched our I Love Bees video, you've actually seen Justin Cena before. He's right here. Way back in 2004, G4 TV did a little set on I Love Bees as a small segment with Kevin Pereira. Now at this point, I Love Bees, no pun intended, was gaining a lot of buzz after the GPS coordinations were starting to be decoded and cracked by various fans who were trying to solve the mystery behind I Love Bees. And Justin, who was already intrigued by the odd site and found discussions on the Unfiction forums, was heavily intrigued by the community all putting their minds together to solve various puzzles. So Justin, who was in college at the time, had his classes stacked 2 days of the week, so he ended up having a lot of free time. And when one of these so-called axons were only 30 minutes away from him with a countdown that ended up being on one of his free days, he called up one of his Halo friends and told him about the whole I Love Bees mystery and convinced him to come along with him. Now at the time, he thought that he would get there and maybe there'd be some free Halo swag or just something simple like that, but of course that wasn't actually the case. To his knowledge, he believes he remembers there being like 6 people at the payphone by the time that it actually started ringing, with of course G4 TV and Kevin Pereira there. And Justin actually was the guy in the red shirt who answered the phone for one of the first instances of the payphones ringing, activating the accent. G4 then went on to interview them, and it aired later on that night. And a shortened version of the I Love Bees segment that G4 TV made is of course still preserved, uploaded onto YouTube, and it's what we used for B-roll when we made our own I Love Bees video. Matter of fact, even beyond this, Justin was involved in answering some of the other accents that were in his area whenever available, as players had to answer a ton of different payphones over the course of multiple weeks. And Justin, at one point towards the end of the run of I Love Bees, actually had one of the rare occurrences where he had a live person on the other side of the line. And while he doesn't remember too many details, he believes it was the sleeping princess, and he said he believes they chatted just for a short bit, and the accent was also activated, and she also thanked them for helping her. So at the very end of the long I Love Bees ARG mystery that had been going on for such a long time, there was of course the GPS locations for the finale event, which was held in San Francisco. But at the time, Justin lived in Los Angeles, and after being heavily invested in this ARG, he and his Halo buddy traveled all the way to San Francisco, a 7-hour drive away, just to go to this finale event. It was also at a movie theater, and they handed the I Love Bees DVD. There were some fans there playing Halo 2 on the big screen, and with how many Halo fans were there, the wait to actually play Halo 2 would have been a long one. So instead, he spent his time chatting with others in the lobby, as it was the first time a lot of the people who were communicating on the online forums solving the mystery were actually meeting in person. But then Justin recognized a couple of women in the lobby, and with the sheer massive amount of popularity that this promotional thing had grown into, some of the various actors and staff members who worked at 42 Entertainment had already been talked about and discussed in the forums already, so he actually had the opportunity to chat with them for a bit, and he had them sign his I Love Bees DVD. He went on to say he might have been the only person to have them sign any DVDs, or at least during the time he was there, he was the only one who did it. And also in our long email exchange back and forth, he said it was really cool because these 42 Entertainment employees also had become so involved with the players and actually knew who a lot of them were. Justin went on to say it was just a really cool and unique experience to be there, and we were all excited to celebrate what we had all gone through together, but also sad it was over. Now, fast forward 17 years later, Justin just managed to stumble upon our video and watched it, and actually had no idea that the DVD alone, without the autograph, was a rare collectible, and had reached out to us because he had been trying to get rid of some of his older collectibles, and actually reached out just to ask for advice on how to part ways with it, because he didn't want to just throw it up on eBay and have just any stranger try to buy it and maybe make a profit selling it later on. He wanted it to go into the hands of an actual die-hard Halo fan and see it actually have a chance to be appreciated in one way or another. Now, of course, immediately I sent an offer, which was basically at the very, very top and then some as to what my budget for Halo memorabilia could possibly be. But of course, I did answer with my own insight as to what my general experience has been seeing the general state of people trying to sell I Love Bee discs online. It was very uncommon, and when they did get listed, they're pretty pricey. And our conversation actually kind of ended with Justin deciding that he would mule over it a bit and look at various Halo communities and then make a decision later as to what he wanted to do with it and whether or not he actually wanted to sell and part ways with one of his collectibles. And then boom! 3.5 months later, Justin sent me an email saying that as he was thinking about the I Love Bees DVD, he decided he'd rather it go to a Halo fan than just trying to get top dollar for it, and was willing to take me up on my offer that I had made, which was just an absolute shock, and I was incredibly excited. And it's something I'm incredibly appreciative to Justin for, because it's not too often you run into someone who has respect for a collectible, who really just wants to put it in the hands of someone who's really going to appreciate it. And he probably could have sat on it and found someone who had more of a budget and would be willing to throw more money at it to resell it one day for a higher price later on. But at this point, I was way more invested and attached to his version of I Love Bees, just because the general story that comes with Justin's own experiences that he shared with me me through email. The fact that I can look at this I Love Bees disc and be like, the guy who's in this exact G4 TV documentary type clip is the guy who sold me his I Love Bees, and he went to the finale event for it. It's something super special. It's going up there right next to my silver play button. So when I got it in the mail, my wife and I ordered a DVD CD frame, which we put it in. And since it's unlikely that I'll actually put this into a DVD player, I actually printed out the main menu of I Love Bees and put it in where like the CD cover art could go, since there was really only one main menu image in the thing and the rest was just black with audio, since it was an audio drama. But one really interesting thing to note also is that this also did come in the original DVD case that was used during its distribution. It does look like this. It was this white, odd, rounded type case, not a stereotypical CD case, and it has the text around the edges, which, while I don't know how many counterfeit I Love Bee discs are out there, when I was talking to Chris from Halopedia, he did mention that the text on the bottom of the I Love Bees disc was a good thing to check for when validating you have a real version of I Love Bees. And since Chris knows everything about I Love Bees and actually is one of the only people I know who also has an I Love Bees disc, he was a pretty good person to reference for this, so thank you, Chris. Nowadays, Justin doesn't play Halo as much as he wishes he could, though he still jumps on and plays the Master Chief Collection from time to time, but he actually works as a graphic designer for toy packaging, working in a design firm, and he's been a project manager and lead designer for all of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles packaging since 2011, and also did the packaging for Godzilla vs. Kong and Netflix's Voltron reboot. It's really cool because someone who loves pop culture getting to work in that field is awesome, and he even shared a recent picture of himself alongside his buddy who went with him 17 years ago to the Halo I Love Bees event. To this day, I Love Bees is still possibly my absolute favorite piece of Halo storytelling outside of the main games. And seriously, if you haven't listened to I Love Bees or you don't know the story of it, you should definitely go check out our video. We did a full breakdown of how the mystery began, all the way through the audio drama story explained. I did these cool little animations for the characters for it. And that video alone took Luke and I absolutely forever to actually finish. But seriously, go check it out because I think there's something really special and significant about Justin sharing his story. And it kind of talks a little bit about how something as simple as a marketing promotion for Halo would lead to some incredibly special memories to the community who used to play Halo or still plays Halo to this day. I think to an extent, everyone who loves Halo has some sort of memory or recollection to this franchise in one way or another, whether it's the first time you experienced Halo or you played it with your friend co-op for the first time. There's just something that is mysterious about the Halo universe that kind of leaves this lasting impression that we really can all appreciate. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure you guys leave a like down below. You can follow me on Twitter at Rocket Elijah, or you can follow Luke at Rocket Sloth Luke. A huge thank you once again to Justin for answering all of the questions that I had, his experiences, and doing like a full-on email interview with me for this video. But the story of his experiences, I feel like, is the most significant part of this whole thing. But anyways, that's it for today. We'll see you guys all next time.